It's gonna be real weird now. Things are getting real weird knowing that I'm gonna be observed. Yikes. Yeah, so here we are. It is Friday, February 5th, 2021, and I got my webcam, and it has been quite the journey getting that because I ordered it this week. It was supposed to show up tomorrow on Saturday, and then that changed. They said it was going to be here on Sunday, and then it showed up today on Friday. So that was a little startling when I had a knock at my door, and I had no idea who on earth was there. But hey, we got we got a webcam, so now you can see me, and you can see how painfully boring I look. But yeah, here we are. It's Friday, which means the weekend's coming up. Just chill. We were supposed to be. I'm a little disappointed, especially sitting here doing some writing for the stream. I was. The original plan was that today for the stream I could work a little bit on doing some finishing touches for the game that we had scheduled for tomorrow. Unfortunately, the snowstorm that was supposed to be finishing up right around now decided it was going to hit us for around 2. So the roads are garbage, and we will not be driving to be playing D&D. We may be able to stream it online, or not stream it online, just play online, which doesn't really matter for the sake of this stream, but so we're working on that. But the point is, it's going to be a much more relaxing weekend coming up. But either way, we can still work on some stuff, and we'll still do a little bit of writing. I have no idea if this is something that anyone is ever going to be interested in. The only thing that, the primary reason I'm doing it is because I love doing it. And I know there's a lot of people who love D&D, love world building. It's pretty niche, and I feel like you just don't see much of people just working through their process. And my fantasy is that one of these days there's a small audience of us that are interested in this stuff, and we can kind of work on bouncing ideas off of each other, and use it as like a brainstorming tool for us to all kind of share ideas and stuff. But probably won't be today, and that is a-okay, because we can still have some cool times and cool fun stuff with it, I guess. I don't know. And if not, at the very least I've gotten some writing done, so there's nothing wrong with that. um, but yeah, and my sincere hope also is that my microphone isolates my voice well enough, because my neighbors have this really irritating habit of treating the hallways like it's part of their apartment. So their children are presently out there, as far as I can tell, playing tag or something. I don't know. They're sprinting up and down the stairs and up and down the hallways. They're screaming. Multiple households. It's a pandemic. It's good stuff. It's real reassuring, and it makes us all feel super safe. Um, and it's super fun because they'll probably be doing that clear till midnight. I'm gonna do my best to not let my blood boil and the rage consume me to a point that I write in some stuff that is just absolutely intentionally demoralizing and impossible for players. I mean, we put a lot of ourselves in what we write, but I'm hoping that my ire doesn't go in there. And a secret part of me is hoping that passive aggressively they hear me talking about this and get the hint that they need to close their front doors. They're going to have loud conversations and tell their children to go outside. They're going to run around and scream. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's fine. It's fine. Goose for ba and all that. So, we finished the last writing stream working a bit on the shipwreck beach here. And if I'm remembering properly, I don't think I worked on it since the last time I was streaming with it. God, gosh, man, there's no way that my microphone is not picking these kids up. They are just downright screaming out there. Like, I'm getting close to going out and saying something. I try to not be that neighbor. Live and let live and all of that, but gosh, there's nights when it's like, a work night and it gets close to midnight and I'm trying to sleep because I gotta get up at 4 a.m. I'm in the back of my apartment and I can still hear them slamming doors and crap. It drives me insane. How you guys can see the garbage that I drink. And all the damage I do to my kidneys. But I want to hear it because everyone else destroys their livers even more than I destroy my kidneys. But, at any rate, what the hell were we working on? What the heck? What the heck were we working on? I'm really bad at not swearing. It's bad. It's embarrassing. Okay, let's see here. So we're getting through, that's right, we talked a bit about what the history of this island was going to be, what the history of the shipwreck beach was going to be. And we were working on primary tasks, or no, that's what's next up, is like the primary tasks. So, I don't even know. Primary tasks, so I put this in here, like I explained before on the previous stream. I have a system that I use to make sure I'm remembering everything and covering everything. And the system tends to be much more in-depth than it needs to be. And I do that on purpose just to make sure, like, it's easier to remove things from a template that I don't need than it is to try and remember to add in everything that I do need, and that's where it comes into play. So when we're coming into here, so the primary tasks, this is where I just kind of outline what the generalized goal is going to be. This is a tough one that I put in here because sometimes it's necessary, but oftentimes, like, what a group is going to be trying to accomplish is very dependent upon what the players themselves have kind of constructed in terms of a story. I'm designing this to be for the group of guys that really wanted to do like a pirate-themed campaign, in that they wanted to be pirates. So for this one, it's going to be kind of obvious, where it's just like the main goal for them is going to be to try and locate plenty of treasure. But I don't want to have that. I want to try and write in at least some basic plot hooks for people to use, because not every group is going to be motivated by trying to loot and pillage. There are going to be groups that want something a bit more purposeful, maybe. I don't know. Purposeful isn't exactly it, because if you're a pirate, finding loot is a pretty purposeful goal. So I think, but not purposeful, but maybe impactful is the word I'm looking for. A lot of people will want something that's more of a saving the world superhero-esque kind of drive. So when they're showing up here, to entice them into a dungeon, we need to at least have some basic hooks that are going to encourage them to enter because they feel like they can do some greater good. My gosh, my neighbors are so loud. I can hear them through my headphones right now. It is obnoxious, man. It is really obnoxious. I'm not going to lie. It bothers me, man. I don't know, man. And it's like, I feel like I'm extra touchy about it because it is a nightly thing. I don't know. I don't know what to do about it. It's a nightly thing, and my neighbors drive me insane. Yeah, I don't, there's no way you can't hear that. That's through a door, through rooms. It is so obnoxious. I really don't want to have to go say something to him, but it's like it's distracting me. It's ruining my chain of thoughts. I'm sorry. This is such poor streaming behavior, but I'm trying to wait it out to see if they close their damn doors. Okay. Nope. Nope. They're still out there. Like I really don't want to have to stand up in the middle of a stream and go yell at my neighbors. I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to have to go yell at my neighbors in general, but it is so obnoxious. This is horrible for a stream. I hate this. Oh my goodness. Alright, we're just going to try and muscle through. Ah, crap. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, we were talking about what is going to be the motivation for people to go here. So primary tasks. So let's just start getting some bullets. Oh, we don't want to do it that way. We want to do that. There we go. Primary tasks. There we go. So most basic basic goal is to loot treasure buried within ship wreckages. Right? That's what the most obvious thing is going to be. It's a real gimme. It's straightforward. It's easy. It's obvious, and it's there. So we can just work with that. But we want something else, because when I'm trying to think about the cadence of how it goes, I mean, I could try and force them to navigate through a dungeon, so to speak, by having it be that the only way to land is right at the base, or right at the, I don't know, just like right on the beach itself, and have the entire beach littered with shipwreck stuff. But I feel like that's pretty railroady to do that. We're talking about an island. There's no reason it becomes extremely transparent that I'm trying to force them into an adventure if I make it so that conveniently on this whole island there's only one like quarter-mile stretch of beach that is 100% shipwrecks, and they have to go through that, and they have to navigate the zombie, like the waterlogged zombie-filled shipwrecks. So I want to try and come up with something else besides just the treasure that might be in there. So that way, if there's a group of more altruistic player characters, they could still have a reason to navigate this. And that's not to say that they're always going to have to navigate it. But I don't want to go through the trouble of making something if it's never going to entice anyone. So what I'm thinking is, I think the obvious answer, the obvious solution, is to tie it in somehow with the nature of like the zombies, the waterlogged zombies that are going to be there. So we're talking about, so this is on the island. Let me see here. Let me pull up. We don't need Firefox at the moment. I'm going to pull up some of my maps here to work with. We want to go to World Atlas here. We're working in I4 GMapDM. That's the other one that we want here. So let's see what we can get here. So here's the specific. I'm hoping we're not going to get bombarded and overrun with Photoshop. Finish loading. Nope, there we go. So there's our world map, and here's the area we're working with. Anyone, because listen to that. Listen to that. There's no way you can't hear my neighbors going crazy out there right now. Oh my gosh, they're insane, man. They're driving me insane. It's just, oh my gosh, it's just poor etiquette is what it is. Like I would never go outside in the hallway and make as much noise as my neighbors are making right now. At any rate, at any rate. So here's the part of the world we're working on. This is the major city that the players for the current game that I'm trying to work with are living. Well, yeah, I guess living is the best way to put it. They're not from that city, but that's kind of where they are located presently. They're currently doing a mission over here in this small little city, Basayet. Um, Soon they'll be coming back to Bepemat and making their way downtown. No, um, gosh, such low hanging fruit. I'm not even proud of that joke. That is just embarrassing. But yeah, so they're gonna make their way. I'm gonna give them some motivation to go to that island. For this group, it's going to be related to one of the characters' backstories. Someone who they have conflict with is going. They're gonna get a tip that this NPC that they're in conflict with is hiding out on this island somewhere, and so that's going to like throw them into this island. And just I'm not gonna. I need to make sure I don't spend every session redescribing the entire history of the world. In the last writing stream that I did, you can find the video on my YouTube channel or on my Twitch channel, for a couple more days anyway. This island here it's engrossed in magic that has sort of corrupted the inhabitants. The old manor here was owned by a very I suppose evil is a good word for it. I don't know that I want to say evil. He's not exactly malicious. He's very self-centered, self-absorbed. Just a nobleman who's kind of a dick. We can just leave it at that. And over the course of a century, more than that, this dark magic that envelops this island corrupted him, turned him into a cyclops that now likes to torture all of his his servants that he had brought with him to the island. And part of the way he tortured them is he spent a lot of time studying the magic that sort of envelops this island and twisting it to make them immortal as long with himself, basically so he could for the rest of eternity world's most dangerous game, or yeah, the most dangerous game. I think that's what it's called. The one where the guy has an island where he hunts other people. Like that's essentially what this guy wanted to do. And so since we've established that, I'm wondering if we can just sort of have in the chamber and ready to go. Because the other thing about these primary tasks, it's not like these are the only things to do here, and it's also not like I don't write them with the intent of everyone has to engage in these tasks every time they anytime not every group is going to use all of these tasks. So I'm thinking one thing that we can tee up though is because there are these servants, we can tee it up so that maybe there's one or two servants who got chased by the Cyclops into the ship, and so the rest of the servants who are trying to survive on this island, they form their own little survival coalitions. I'm wondering if we can make it so that we can just say a couple of the servants are trapped in the ship, but the existing servants just don't have the resources, the strength to be able to try and go in and save them. They don't even know if they're still alive. So that one would really be a driver for a particularly, Bahamut-driven group that would never think about doing it for the glory, and would only do it for the goodness of their hearts. Bleeding heart nonsense. But yeah, I think that's something that's there, that exists. It's kind of a trope, kind of a cop-out, just to say, hey, here's some good NPCs. Let's just chuck a couple of them in this area so they have to go there. But honestly, when you're trying, one of the beautiful things about this game, when you have a good group, is that the story kind of tells itself. I don't need to come up with a super in-depth, super complex story idea. I can really get away with making it basic and simple and straightforward, and the players will fill in the blanks. You know, if your players are understanding of how D&D works, and if they're getting into it, if they're having fun with it, you know, they might not necessarily role play it, but they'll have their characters, they'll be invested in their characters enough to know what their characters' motivations are. So if you just give them a scenario, they'll fill in the blanks with their character filling up the story, you know, giving the story meaning. You know, it's not my job to give them meaning as much as it is to simply provide them opportunity to find meaning. You know, if I start telling them what they're supposed to care about, if I start telling them exactly what their characters are supposed to want to do, it stops being a role-playing game. At that point in time, we're reading a book. We're not playing a game. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and tee up that really simple, straightforward trope here of saying enslaved servants chased. Let's see. Enslaved servants were chased by the Cyclops into the ship graveyard. Other servants on island are worried but unable to do anything themselves. Are worried but unable to do anything themselves. Will ask players to look into it. You know, so you just kind of tee something up like that, right? It doesn't have to be intense. It can just be straightforward like that. And like I say, that'll work. You know, because basically all I've done is saying, hey, there are some NPCs, they're going to ask about this. It's up to the players to decide, is that something they'll respond to? Is that something their characters care about? Is that something that they feel ready to handle? Right? So that's what we do with it. And then we add another space there just because it makes it more visually pleasing, and I'm obsessed with that type of stuff. Okay, villains and allies. This one I don't always use. A lot of times this gets left completely blank because it really depends on the nature of the dungeon. Some dungeons are going to have NPCs that are active allies that will help, and some of them have much more story-driven villains. This one there's not a whole lot. We'll do main bad guy. Like, we'll still talk about the villains. There's value to it. I'm trying so hard. I'm so sorry if that I wander and I keep going back to this. I'm trying so hard to focus through all the shouting that's happening in the hallway right now. I am so close to going out and saying something. It is getting ridiculous. Like, I don't want to do that though. Like, it's not even that late. It's only like 7:30 where I am. And so I don't want to have to go out and yell at someone about that. You know, but it's like, I mean, for crying out loud, the dorms when I was in college weren't this bad, I swear. And it's like, I don't know, I want to be lenient and understanding because it's primarily kids. And it's not like the kids really know better. But the parents should, right? I'm not crazy about that, right? Like, I don't have kids, so I guess I don't really know. But it seems like the parents should have an awareness of that stuff. I don't know. I'm getting so distracted with it. It's not about writing at all. The main bad guy. So the main villain, as we talked about last time, was going to be a Husk Zombie Burster. Zombie Burster. And the concept of this was going to be that he's a zombie that was like infected with like sort of this toxic bacteria type substance, you know, mossy, nasty swamp. He's like a bog being. He just kind of lives in the ship. He's a zombie. He's disgusting, and he comes out, and you hit him, and he just spews and oozes all this like nasty, sick, like pussy, seaweed-esque grocery. Grocery? No, that just turns into groceries, and you don't want groceries. It's just a whole bunch of puke that comes out of him is the idea. Normally I would want to give maybe a bit of story or history to a main villain, but I don't know that there's much to give with this guy. Did I write down? Yeah, current boss of the dungeon. We've got Husk Zombie Burster. Let's see, we're gonna do Corpse of Captain Solomon. That was the guy that we did. Give me my bullet point. Make it go away. Stupid thing. Yeah, that was the history he gave him. Was the captain of one of the ships. Ship was caught in the currents during the unhinging and crashed on the beach. Solomon was injured, and the wound became infected. He died when his body was so full of bacterial spores that he could no longer survive. Undisturbed, the body remained full of dormant spores. When Ignatius cursed the island, Ignatius was the Cyclops we were talking about. When he cursed the island, Solomon's corpse was reanimated, turning him into a Husk Zombie Burster. So, one of the things that now I'm wondering about, for the sake of intrigue and interest, and this is something that can maybe play into primary tasks, I'm wondering if the nature of this immortality curse that has reanimated his corpse, I'm wondering if that would include a return to any sort of sentience, or if it's just a shambling husk. And that kind of goes for all of the zombies that are wandering around in this area. I feel like there's something compelling about it, but I'm also trying to remember that this is intended to be for a level 1 group. Like, this is meant to be something very simple and straightforward. Something that's easy. I don't necessarily expect any adventuring group of level 1 players to, have reason to get on a boat and go to a corrupted island. But the way I design things and stepwise and add different levels of difficulty to any given region, I want there to be something that's kind of a cakewalk, and that's what this is supposed to be. The shipwrecks, it's not like it's some sort of designed fortress, with trained soldiers. It's just the result of a bunch of magical hijinks that's happening. So I don't want to get too heavy. But the flip side is if we offer up some form of sentience, then we can maybe have another thing to add to our primary tasks, right? Another sort of potential story element to tee up and provide. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna leave them as just like a shambling corpse. It doesn't think. They don't behave. They're instinctive. They're animals. And I think maybe a lot of that, it makes sense with the nature of the magic, because the immortality happened post death. So, but them dying would have happened after the unhinging, and the unhinging is what caused this whole world to get so magically corrupt and just like ethically bankrupt. I mean, the whole world is twisted and shattered and corrupted. That's the point of the world that I've created. So it would make sense in that manner for them to remain as undead. But I don't know, or the immortality curse to offer up reanimation to these guys, but I don't know that would return sentience to their bodies because they were deceased. So I think I'm gonna leave it be, and I'm gonna make a note of that. No recollection of former life completely instinct-driven undead that hungers for flesh, prefers seafood, but will settle for landlubbers. He'd prefer Michael Phelps, but he'll settle for Lance Armstrong. I don't know. I think that's all we need. I think that's really all we need for this bag. I don't think we need to get too in depth. But I think a lot of that is because I don't want to oversaturate this particular island with too much story, because the fact is we already have a substantial amount of story and plot going on between Cyclops and servants. Ignatius and his horribly mistreated slaves, essentially, is what they are. I mean, I keep saying servants, but it's like that's what he would call them, to not have to admit that he is enslaving people. But I feel like that in and of itself is enough, especially if we're also going to be layering on some character story stuff, because this, like, the thing about an island is, I think in most situations, an island really, players have to have a reason to choose to go there, which means that players are going to have some of their own personal story that takes them there, and that's like what we're discussing with the group that I'm most immediately going to use that for. Oops, I did not mute my stuff here. Hold on, though. That's from my ISP. Let me make sure I'm not in trouble for anything. It's probably an advertisement. Yep, it's an advertisement. They want me to buy a phone now. Not happening. Yeah, and I'm worried that if I layer on too much story, the story will be bigger than the location, right? I think it's really easy for someone who's creating a world, or at least for me anyway. I get caught up in adding a lot of story to things. I think it's really easy to accidentally oversaturate things. Because the thing to remember when prepping D&D stuff is we're not talking about a novel where someone is going to stay focused on the same story, the same book for, a week or two. They're going to stay hyper focused, and they're going to have that fresh recall of that memory, and we're going to be able to go from plot point to plot point. That's not how it works with D&D. D&D, especially with my groups right now, I'm DMing 2 groups, but with all of them we meet roughly once a month. We play for 3 to 5 hours. So if you pile on too much story in that environment, people lose track, especially players. And what I'm gonna say right now, I don't mean to rag on players at all. But the fact is players are never as invested in the story as the writer of that story is. The DM is always much more invested in it. And that's not a dig on players or anything like that. That's not to say that they aren't dedicated players or that they don't care about the story. But when you're the person writing the story, you are so intimately involved with it. You've put yourself into it. You've spent hours refining it, trying to make it just so, just twiddling knobs. I don't know where I'm going with that metaphor. You're fine-tuning it and making it as perfect as you can make it for your players. And so because you spend all that time in it as the DM, it is very easy to get invested to the point of thinking like, oh, but we can add this subtle little intrigue, and we can take this story thing, and then we can have this throwback that came from over there, and we can pile all this stuff and cram it in there, so that way no matter where you go, it's like, boom, interesting thing, boom, interesting thing, boom, interesting thing, and it like, and to you as the writer, you feel like, yes, I'm providing them with so much meat, there's so much good stuff happening here. But to the players, it's just like, wait, who am I supposed to remember? They're going to come back from session to session and be like, what were we doing last time? Even the ones that take notes are like, God, let me look through my notes there. We met a guy, and if your players are anything like all of my players, I swear all of my players, their notes are like, I wrote a note here that says, Met shopkeeper was dick. And it's like, they keep the most worthless notes. They're just not going to remember it because they're not spending weeks and weeks and weeks working with the same material like you are. They show up for the session, and they spend just a significantly less amount of time invested in the story than you do as the writer. And so this whole ramble, this whole rant is meant to kind of send home the idea that we don't want to oversaturate with story. For this whole region that's going to have 5 dungeons in it, we're talking maybe one or two overarching plot points where each dungeon has one or two little, components to that overarching thing. We want to have one cohesive story for this whole area that ties it together. So that way they can have that sort of substantial, satisfying conclusion to everything. Oh my gosh, my neighbors are so loud right now. There's so many of them out there too. There's no way they're adhering to social distancing out there. That's the thing that drives me insane. We're in the middle of a pandemic. People are dying. People are dying, and they're just out there. Like, I know those kids are going to school. I know that the parents are just letting them intermingle and everything. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's nerve-wracking just to walk through the hall these days. There's just so many of them, and they're not out there wearing masks. They're just, oh, it drives me insane. It drives me insane. Look, I'm watching my microphone spike from them just yelling. Man, I might have to put on a mask and go out and just say something to them. Just say, guys, you gotta keep it down. Because it does. It keeps distracting me. It keeps pulling me away from what I'm talking about, and it drives me insane. I don't like it. I'm not a fan, guys. I'm not a fan. Okay. They've gone inside for the next 5 minutes, and then they'll be back. I don't even understand why they keep leaving their apartment. I'm sorry. I gotta not rant about it. Just like, stay in your apartment. Just stay inside and have your conversation in there. Don't come out into the hallway just to yell and then go back in. Like, I don't understand what this is. I don't get it. I don't understand. At any rate, it's better. Oh, now they're ringing my doorbell. Now they're gonna ring my doorbell. I hate when they do that. The kids do that. They go down and they just spam press all of the doorbells so that someone will let them in. They don't look at the number of the room that they're pressing. I'm not. Oh my gosh. I'm about to walk down there and yell at them. It's infuriating. Drives me insane. Drives me insane. I'm probably going to have to say something to the supervisor of the building. Like, I feel like that. Like, I hate doing that because I feel like such a tattletale when I do that, but that kind of ends up being the most diplomatic thing to do. So that way it's not like me just going out and being, a grouchy neighbor. It can be the supervisor of the building saying, hey, you need to be respectful of your neighbors. But it's like, to me, it's like, it feels like, like I want to be understanding that there's kids in this apartment and that an apartment environment is hard for kids to be satisfied and to be able to let out energy that they have, especially when there's a blizzard outside and we've all been stuck inside for months. I want to be understanding of that. But it's like, imagine if you were in a neighborhood and there were kids running up and down the street screaming at the top of their lungs, lighting off fireworks, and then occasionally ding-dong ditching your door. That's what it feels like is happening right now. And it's not pleasant. I don't like living here because of that, and it's too bad because this is a really nice apartment. It's in a really nice location, but the kids just make it miserable. I don't know. Anyway, I need to be better. It's probably not good streaming practice to air my grievances with my life. Air out my dirty laundry. Yeah. I'm trying so hard to decide if I should just go out and just calmly say something. Just like go out and say, guys, you gotta keep it down. It's so noisy out here. You gotta keep it down. Like, the thing that's hard about it is I don't know if there are parents out there. You know, I feel like what I need to do is be able to say something to the parents, but I don't know if there are parents around. Like, and I think that's one of the big problems is I don't know if these are supervised children or not. Because if they're not supervised, they're just kids that are going to be bratty kids, and they're just going to get angry and snotty about it, and probably just get back to it, and maybe even be worse about it. You know, so I don't know. I don't know, man. Just don't know. At any rate, let's just get back to writing. Let's just try and stay focused on the writing here. So, yes, when discussing story and how much story to put in, it's better to have one or two primary plot points that have different steps that pop up and different approaches to handling and navigating that plot. Let's go. Okay, I'm gonna say something. Hold on, I'll be right back. Alright, well, I don't think there's anything to be done about it. I was right, there's no adults involved in this process, and looking out in the hallway, the situation is, gosh, I'm gonna try so hard to not turn this into a rant, but the situation is two of the apartments, the one right next door to mine and right across the hall from mine, they are having a split apartment birthday party by the sounds of it, by the looks of it, from what I can tell. There are piled around their doors probably about, I can't imagine it's fewer than 30 people's worth of like boots and shoes piled up outside the doors, of people going back and forth without masks. Maybe between the two families that are there, maybe 7 of those people actually live here. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a damn pandemic. Like, people are dying, and they're just going back and forth, and it's making my blood boil. It's making my blood boil, because it's people like that that are the reason that I have been gradually, slowly losing my sanity, being locked up in my apartment 24/7 for a year at this point. It's been a year at this point. They're going back and forth, making as much noise as you can imagine possible. And it's mostly kids that are just sprinting back and forth. It's like, I get it. I really get it. I really want to understand. I get it. Kids are having a rough time right now. But this isn't the time to do this. The people doing these things are the reason why we are still in this COVID mess right now. And it's just, I don't know, it's really messing with my psyche tonight. I'm gonna keep powering through, because I really wanna mean it with this streaming thing, and I really want to do this. I really want to connect, and I feel like part of that is just letting myself be human with people and express what my woes are, what my struggles are, what my yays and nays are in the world. Yeah, I don't know. I will definitely be filing a complaint with my apartment complex. We can't tell people whether or not they can have guests in their apartments and all that kind of stuff, but at the very least we can tell them to shut up when they're in the damn hallways, because it's shared space. There is zero respect happening for neighbors. There is zero respect. There are kids sprinting up and down. They're going back and forth, shouting at each other. They're holding doors open. So we have two apartments filled with 15 plus people shouting back and forth across the hallway, acting as if it's one big unit. That's not how it works in an apartment. You can't do that. It is so unneighborly. And like I say, they're the kids are running outside. They're just like buzzing on doorways so that they're ringing every doorbell, including mine, so they can get back into the apartment. I don't know, man. I don't know. I want to be patient and understanding, but like this isn't okay. This isn't okay. This isn't, how tone deaf can you be to the state of the world to think that it's an appropriate thing to be having a birthday party right now? I get it. We're all stuck. We're all cooped up. We're all going insane. But that's why we can't act like we're special and unique, and that our situation as individuals trumps, to use somewhat intentional metaphor there. We can't act like our personal struggles make it okay for us to disregard other people's struggles and other people's challenges and other people's safety. We can't act like, I can't act like me going insane is a reason for me to go out there and scream at them, which is why I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go out and scream at them. I'm going to be an adult about it. I'm going to try and just deal with it right now. If it gets on to like 10 o'clock and they're still out there screaming, which I bet you they will be, but if it's getting that late, I'm going to go out and just calmly say something to one of the adults, just gonna go stand and wait in the hallway until an adult comes. I want to be a good neighbor and I want to understand, but this is just absolutely ridiculous and absolutely unacceptable. I don't know, man. I don't know, and it's just it's hurting my mellow right now. Okay. It's a Friday night and I want to be calm and chill, but there's no way I can be with this much noise, this much disrespect happening right now. It's not like I'm someone who deserves anything particularly meaningful in the way of respect. It's not like I'm some sort of authority figure. But I pay $1,300 a month to live here in this apartment in this city. And it's like, if I'm going to be investing that kind of money in a living space, I deserve to enjoy it. I deserve to feel safe in it. Anyone who pays money on any sort of living situation deserves to feel safe. And it's hard for me to feel safe when there are 30 strangers who do not live in this building coming in here and swapping air spittles with each other. It's just not okay. It's not okay. This isn't an okay thing. And I wish it weren't late in the evening. I wish I could call my office, my apartment's office building and say, "Hey, this thing is happening right now and it's a problem. Can we do something about it?" I'm not happy. I'm not happy right now. I'm really unhappy with how this is going. Um, and it's bothering me right now because I feel like it's just ruining this stream. It's making me feel like I don't even want to bother posting this stream and putting it on my YouTube channel. I wish I was better able to block out this noise, just mentally filter it out. But the fact is it's loud. It's pervasive. Now there's a crying baby out there right now. They're using the hallway as a place to calm their baby because the baby's overwhelmed. And believe me, baby, I understand noise is overwhelming, but the hallway, the shared living space, is not the place to do that. People just have to accept the fact that we live in an apartment. Okay, there are limitations to things that we can do based on where we live. You sign a homeowners association contract when you move into a neighborhood, and it limits what type of fence you can put up there. That's what you accept by moving to that property, right? That's part of the collective. If you don't like it, you find a different neighborhood. If you don't like the limitations of an apartment, don't live in an apartment. And I get it. I know houses are expensive. I get that. But that just means you have to adapt and recognize that you're living in an apartment, a shared living space. And you need to be a good neighbor. And they're not. They're not being a good neighbor right now. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I'm really not a fan. I don't know. Give me 30 seconds. It's going to be more like a minute. Give me a minute. I'm going to go get a beverage. It's 8 o'clock. We're getting on towards the second hour of my stream here for Friday evening. I'm going to go get myself a glass of water, get myself something to rehydrate a little bit. I'm just going to take a minute to just zen out here. We're going to come back for the second hour of this stream and hopefully be focused. Hopefully that rant will have gotten this out of my system. I probably will post it to YouTube. I want people to understand where I'm coming from and the nature of things. If anyone ever goes through the history of my streams to watch what I work on, I think there's value to that. And I think there's this weird aversion to sharing opinions in the streaming community right now. But yeah, okay. Shoot, I might have to go out and say something to these people. Okay, I'll be back in a couple minutes. back. There was a couple adults out there. At one point there, while I was getting myself some water, went out and asked them if they could keep the volume down. They nodded, apologized, and have promptly continued to be just as loud. I don't know. There's not really anything else to do about it. I'll just file a complaint with my apartment management tomorrow when I can. Hey, little kitty, do you want to come up? Lila? I know, it's so noisy out there. Yep, they're using the hallway as the cry room for the baby. I don't know. I'm trying to stay chill and zen about it. It's just going to be a frustrating night, and I just need to accept that. There's not really anything to do about it unless I feel like causing a scene out there, and I don't want to do that. I would rather sit here and spend the next 45 minutes doing some writing, sharing that with anyone who chooses to come and watch the video. Maybe try and convince my kitty to come up on my lap. Do you want to come up? Psst, psst, psst. Come on, Leela. Psst, psst, psst. Come on up, little girl. Do you want to come up? There she is. There's the little girl. She is, this is my kitty. I don't think I've introduced her to the stream yet. There's not been much of a point because it's been I haven't had a webcam, so this is my cat. There she is. She's a good little girl. She has one eye. Her name is Leela. And she is bothered by noises just the same as me. She and I have many of the same anxieties when it comes to living arrangements, which is why she and I get along very well. But it's funny, she and I have like the same energy, so when there's all kinds of noise and disruptions happening out in the hallway, she and I both kind of start freaking out. It's kind of funny. We feed off each other, which isn't always the best thing, but she's a little sweetheart. She is my co-pilot when I'm on my desk. Let me grab my camera here. This can maybe help me zen out despite the immense amount of noise and distraction happening. There she is right there. She's making biscuits on her bed. This is her spot. She's my co-pilot. And she just hangs out here with me all day long when I'm sitting here for work, and then sitting here and gaming, and sitting here and writing. She's a real sweetheart. It's my little baby girl. So that's my kitty. She's my partner in crime, my PIC. Isn't that right, Leela? I know. She's been very affectionate today. And I'm convinced it's 100% because she wants to be affectionate, and not because there's been a snowstorm and it's been very cold and she wants to share body heat with me. Isn't that right? Yeah. She helps keep my blood pressure low and helps me chill out and zen out. So I'll just enjoy her company for the time being. And we'll try and focus on that. I know, you're a little antsy too because of all that noise that keeps happening. But you just hang out here. I'll hang out here. We'll get through tonight. And tomorrow we'll file a scathing complaint with management. I know it. Okay, so first hour, kind of marred by rants and frustrations and everything. I'm going to do my best to not let that distract. We have made it evident what my feelings are about all of that noise. I have said my piece about it. I'm going to chug the rest of this. Fill myself up with caffeine. Make myself a little bit more jittery. Stick with water the rest of the evening. And it'll be a perfectly fine evening from here on out. It occurs to me that even though this has been a frustrating evening for me, there may be some value in sharing it. Particularly if I choose to use this as a way to demonstrate ways that we can cope with tough situations. I'm no therapist. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some sort of expert on how to live a happier life. I'm not one of those think-spirers that you see on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But that said, I feel like we're in a weird situation in the world, particularly with COVID going on, where everyone is dealing with new challenges that they never would have expected to have to deal with. And I feel like there's value in all of us sharing notes with how to handle these situations. I feel like there's an unfair stigma to discussing emotional and mental difficulties. Like we're more than happy to tell stories about how we, got that one gnarly bruise on our leg, on our shin, or how we broke our finger the other day. We talk about physical ailments, but we never really talk about mental ailments. It's a touchy subject, and it makes sense because they are highly personal issues. Um, but at the same time, I feel like there can be value in at least some discussion and sharing coping mechanisms, and this kind of goes into the same school of thought of, why I want to be able to, once we get more audiences, especially during video game streams, be able to discuss the work I do in environment, to share notes on that kind of stuff and open up discussions between people. I feel like the concept of just discussion and sharing ideas, even disagreeing ideas, is kind of lost right now. And so with that in mind, it seems to me like maybe there's some value in me leaving up, showing me being frustrated during the first half of this, and then if I can find a way to keep myself calm and zen and really kind of talk about how I'm doing that, there can be some value in sharing that with anyone who stumbles across this video. It doesn't have to, I don't have to be perfect for the sake of stream. In fact, I think there's something, at least for myself, when I'm watching other streamers and other YouTubers and everything, I think for me it means a lot more to watch and interact with someone who is a human and shares those types of experiences, those very human experiences and human emotions. Um, so I'm going to make the choice to do that, and I'm also going to make the choice to not let all of those frustrations with my neighbors dictate how the rest of this evening is going to go. This isn't water, it's pure tequila. No, that's not true at all. It's water. I don't drink. This is my secret. It's rum. Big old glass. Just pure alcohol. I know, honey. I know you hear them out there, and it's frustrating. It's okay, though. We can be chill. We can still be chill and have our own chill evening. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I know, I see. Alright, so we were working on discussing our villains and allies here. We talked about the main bad guy being our Husk Zombie Burster and how it was going to be the captain, and I spent some time pondering whether or not to make it any more in-depth, and that's what led us to sort of the conversation that eventually derailed into me just complaining about my neighbors for a half hour. Life is what it is. And that's kind of what we were talking about, how I decided not to add too much to that zombie because I don't want to oversaturate this area with too much story, especially considering this is meant to be an earlier location for players to go. I know, hi honey. So we're not going to add any sort of extra story or plot or personality, but we still want to describe, and we want to have like a mentality of what the different lackeys and stuff and what the bosses are going to be like, because there's value to having sort of these quick notes, so that way if players want to ask stuff, we at least have a baseline, like a platform to springboard off of if we need to improvise stuff. Because it might be, when I'm talking about not saturating the story, an important reason for that is also the fact that players will, with their own character backstories, add that saturation in. They'll add the extra story that kind of needs to be there to fill it in. So if we have at least just some basic ideas, if we have some basic ideas of who the villains are, who the allies are in a location, if players start giving me hints that they're going to try and sort of tie their character in a bit more closely with what's going on, with something a bit more personal, I've got a starting base to think about that. So when we have the main bad guy here, this Husk Zombie Burster, I have a note here: no recollection of former life, completely instinct-driven undead that hungers for flesh. And then because I can't help but add stupid jokes to everything I do, in parentheses, prefers seafood but will settle for landlubbers. Oh, goodness. Goodness. Oh, we got an itchy ear. Cat's freaking out over there. Should get a cat cam. Just get another one that just points at her so people can just, like, that can be part of the zen of this channel. So it's like, you can just mute me and just watch my cat chilling. The sad part is that would get more likes than my actual channel would. So, but yeah, so we have that basic concept of what our main bad guy is going to be with the Husk Zombie. So that way, if there's a player who wants to try and use magic or divine intervention, so to speak, to try and interact with that zombie, I have a basic outline of understanding that's not going to get them anywhere. That's not really going to do anything for them. We can go with that, right? So the player can, but that can still be something that goes off of it, because we can say that the zombie itself has no recollection, but if we wanted to, especially if we want to start getting loose with magic, and this is where you have to start thinking about the game that you want to run and the nature of how loose you want to be with rules, because there's no explicit rules in D&D that talk about being able to warm bodies-esque consume part of a brain and review the see the memories of that deceased person, right? But you can go ahead and sort of let them use loose divine intervention. If they pray to this, that, or the other god, right? Perhaps they can ask the god to assist them in understanding where this zombie came from and what their life was. And so maybe they can once they kill them, even though I understand the main guy has no recollection, we can do something along the lines of while the thing is moving with them, there's nothing to be gained through conversation, but we do have the current boss, we do have this information here that I could almost even copy and paste into that. In fact, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to copy that, and we're just going to add it here. There's nothing wrong with adding it. It's not like it's not like I'm using up resources, right? It's all digital. It all fits in there. So I'm going to put that right there. So that way, if they wanted to speak with dead or something like that after the fact, they can learn something about that. And if they keep wanting to go with it, that way they can, through those memories, almost perhaps it doesn't have a recollection of former life, but that doesn't have anything to do with what it remembers once it becomes undead. So maybe the memories that they can get from Speak with Dead or something like that, they can gain some information about Ignatius, the Cyclops that lives on this island. So you can start kind of folding things in there, even though there's nothing explicitly story-driven about what I'm adding here. So I'm going to try and do the same with the lackeys here. So now, when I'm thinking about lackeys, that's not going to include up here where we've got our soldiers and fodder being different crabs, right? Those are just they're literally there just to add combat. There's nothing wrong with that either. For as much as I like to have things be story driven, there's nothing wrong with having something that is 100% there for game mechanics. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with every once in a while just saying you guys get ambushed by a pack of lions while traveling through the Serengeti. There's no story behind there. It's just something that happens, right? And there's nothing wrong with doing that. And players, it's not the type of thing that players are going to rave about, but it's the type of stuff that is going to stick with the player. It's going to make it feel like it's a living world, adding those types of things. So that's why I don't have any issues with the crabs being there for no reason other than to make combat more diverse, interesting, and complicated. Um, but we do want to have some lackeys in there. So now the lackeys, what we're going to do is we're going to have these be the ash zombies. Do ash zombies. And what we're going to do is we're going to have that in parentheses, undead sailors, right? So it's undead sailors. So we're going to, what I'm going to actually do, because I remember coming up here, skinned as moss-covered spore zombies. So we're going to do that. We're going to do skinned as moss-covered spore zombies as, you know, for undead sailors, right? So yeah, so we can do that. And you know what else I'm going to do? Sailors dot dot dot. This is something that I do. This isn't something that I necessarily even recommend for other people. This is just something that works for me when I'm writing. I do dot dot dot. Very Davy, hold on. Davy Jones. Very which was the Pirates of the Caribbean? Very Dead Man's Chest, is that what it's called? Very Pirates Dead Man's Chest, right? That's like really the vibe that I'm going for with these. They're like sea zombies almost. They're just in appearance. You know, that's an important distinction. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm not even gonna. This is such a stupid thing to put that as a parentheses. We're gonna just put that as a sub bullet. That's the whole point. Funded sailors, very Dead Man's Chest. Pirates, Dead Man's Chest in appearance. Right, that's kind of what's going on in my brain, and I'll do notes like that a lot. Like for a character, I'll put a note, like I'll say accent like, you know, so and so in such and such a movie, you know, voice like James Earl Jones, you know, voice like Bumblebee Cumberbund, whatever his face is, you know, I'll do notes like that, so that way when I come back, that's a consistency thing for me as a DM, right? So when I'm trying to explain things to players that they're encountering, you know, between sessions, because like I say, it can be months between sessions, and while I'm absorbed in the story, I'm not always absorbed in the accents or the appearance of what's going on with things. So if I put little notes like that to help myself, it can be helpful. That's why, you know, I'm putting them there to help myself. I also want to put a little note in here that's the same as, it's kind of the same as Captain Solomon, and we're just going to do no memories of lives prior to death, right? And like there's kind of some importance to saying prior to death. You know, that leaves that loophole of, you know, after they died or after they were reanimated, you know, there can still be some memories to glean some information about it. But I'm going to leave that blank because I don't want that to necessarily be something I'm trying to push. It can just be something of value that kind of comes up. And we'll see, because the thing about that too is that can be something that really depends on the story that we're doing. So allies. So what I want to do, there's not really any allies to be found in here, except for we were talking about up here with the enslaved servants that were chased up there. So we're going, I'm going to put potentially servants who were chased by Ignatius. And I'm just going to kind of do some real quick things. I'm going to do poly, maybe. I oftentimes will try to be more thematic within my world. You know, we'll bring up my world map just to do something. Where's my zoom tool? Do I already have my zoom? No, I don't. There's my zoom tool. You know, I try to, just to add a little bit of interest to things, I try to have different regions have different naming conventions, so that way we can add some interesting consistency. So up here in the Siski Forest, I have very Russian approaches to names, right? The Wenatchee Rainforest, I believe. I've got notes on it that can be more specific. I'm not actually like an anthropologist, so it's not like I know off the top of my head, like, oh, that word is clearly derived from this one language of this one culture, you know, but like I try and use naming conventions for that kind of stuff. You know, you come over here, Mofafetting is a very like African approach, and I also will use fictional things. The Themedel Wood up here is very elven. We have the Thol Muldur Mountains and the shoot, what did I call these ones? The Haidum Mountains. That's right. So the Thol Muldur and the Haidum Mountains are both very dwarven. You know, and we have up here the Konigheim, which I utilize a lot. Whoops, a lot of like Viking type of names, like Old Norse names, things like that in there, because I feel like that has a lot of natural drift into what is commonly used in fiction as dwarven type of convention. So I do stuff like that. And in Bepamat, I try to use a very, a very ancient Egyptian approach to nomenclature, for people and places, but that's different for this island here, because this island is inhabited by, you know, the corrupted version of an aristocrat who I haven't given a whole lot of detail because I don't want it to matter, but I had an idea of them being from Strafwell, from Strafwall over here, which I believe that is actually the kind of what I did for like Central or North American type of names, in Strafwall, right? But he's from Strafwall, who was sort of in his life a collector of exotic slaves. My cat's freaking out right now. She's running laps. What you doing? Going nuts. She's freaking out right now. I pulled out a new toy for her. I give her only a couple toys at a time because she has the tendency to like scatter them everywhere and then lose them, right? So we try to just like use a couple toys until they're destroyed and then pull out new ones, just so that way they don't get as disgusting and, you know, sticky with cat slobber and stuff all too soon at once, so I don't have to buy as many. And so we recently pulled out, I think she's probably playing with it over there, a little it's like, it's kind of messed up because it looks like this little stuffed baby chick, you know, like a baby chicken. She loves to destroy that thing. She'll pounce on it and like grab it and run off with it, and she does this thing where she like lays it on the ground and then walks up and like sits on it, so that way she can like use her back claws to like dig and try and tear at it. It's messed up. Oh shoot, she's gone. I don't know where she is right now. I hope she doesn't assault me. She's done that before. Or she'll like run around and she'll like try and like jump on my lap when I don't have enough room, so she'll claw the crap out of my legs. It's a psycho, that cat. Oh boy. Anyway, sorry, distracted. This time with something fun. But yeah, so Behemoth is usually more of like an ancient Egyptian approach to nomenclature and naming conventions, but I wanted his history to be like, I really wanted to send the message that this guy did not have a moral compass when it came to human interaction. He really does not view other people as other people. He views them as property to be owned and dominated. And so because of that, I'm trying to give the servants sort of a more diverse naming range, as well as trying to find names that maybe don't even necessarily fit. She goes. They don't really even fit into one specific culture or another, right? So that's why I'm being kind of careless with the names here. So Polly, we'll say Polly was a maid for Ignatius Ignatius. It was made for Ignatius. He enjoyed forcing. I get pretty dark with my stories. Not graphic. I try to not be graphic, but I don't shy away from hinting at very dark things. That's what I'm going to do with her. And it's what I've been doing with like all of these characters. This guy, I really want it to be understood that it's not just that he's a, like a racist prick that'll say mean things, spit in his spittoon, and keep rocking on his chair like something out of a Stephen King novel, right? Like this guy is twisted. He's messed up. He views people as property to be owned and dominated. He does not view people as people. So, what I'm going to say here, he enjoyed forcing her to model various, we're going to put in quotes, outfits for him. It's just quicker to do that than figure out how I misspelled it. Was made for Ignatius. He enjoyed forcing her to model various outfits for him. She wears, let's see here, because she was only, why am I adding extra I's to everything? It's just because. I know how to spell because. What's wrong with me? Because she was only, what was I going to say? Only provided with these revealing outfits when she ran with the other servants. They made clothes for her out of recovered burlap sacks. So that's just to add some flavor. It doesn't really inform personality or anything like that, but yeah, you drop those little tidbits in there, and those are like little clues to that. Like, I like adding little clues. I like seeing players feel satisfied when they put together clues and figure out an answer that way. Because some challenges that you present are challenges for the characters, but sometimes they're challenges for the players, right? You want the players to also feel like they solve something. So, she is extremely timid and will be useless in battle. Okay, so she's gonna be extremely escort mission esque. Because I mean, who doesn't love an escort mission? People don't know me. I despise escort missions in games. I think they're the dumbest things ever. If the person you're escorting is not self-sufficient, then as far as a game mechanic goes, they deserve to die. And I hate it when you have to try and protect a useless AI. Sidebar. We're also going to, the thought I have here, because now the thing is we can almost write ourselves into a corner here by saying we're going to put in, this meek and timid individual who is, can't hardly speak. She's so afraid of everything. Well, how on earth has she survived hiding in a ship that is overrun with zombies? Well, okay, so what we'll do then is we're going to give her a companion who is very Brienne of Tarth, is what I'm thinking. Someone who's badass, someone, like, hell, even Andre the Giant in Princess Bride would suffice. Someone who is a companion who is protecting her, and you could sort of almost see like they were running from Ignatius together, so that's like they were together trying to survive from Ignatius. Likely Ignatius was chasing down Polly to be able to torment her, and one of the other refugees stuck with her to protect her, and so they ran into this shipwreck, and they've been there for a day or two, with the more put together person sort of keeping them alive. I don't know, what's a fun name? Because it's really irrelevant to gender. I try to keep genders balanced, and I try to not worry one way or another about gender roles. So I wouldn't be bothered if I did meek, timid girl, um, with super awesome, fighter dude protecting her, because it's not about the guy being a hero. Because I would have no issues with making, a similar situation where you have, a scrawny man named Timothy, being protected by a Brienne of Tarth type character. Um, but we want our story to follow some logical cadence, and Ignatius is a reprehensible individual. Of course, he's going to be very misogynistic. Um, he's meant to be reprehensible. He's an ugly character inside and out. Um, and so, because it's a he, he's going to covet, the delicate beauty of Polly, right? And so so that's why we have the meek, timid woman, because that's something she's an easy target for him to abuse, and he would prefer the she as opposed to the he for this type of scenario, right? So that's why Polly exists. That's why my mind goes to Polly. Um, and so balancing her with another man or a woman is largely irrelevant to me. I'm just basically thinking of whatever would be a cool name. Um, I don't know. I'm blanking. Oh, we can. I have an idea. Okay, so here's one of the tools that I use. Hopefully, I'm not going to get in trouble with this. I don't. I'm really guessing when it comes to copyright rules, so I am not at all bothered by if anything gets struck, copyright struck and stuff like that, and demonetized for things. Because I'm not even trying to make money off this anyway. So hopefully I don't make any blunders. I'm gonna do my best to offer citations for things if I need to, and if someone raises issue, like if someone sees something that's an issue, just let me know about it, and I'll do my best to make it right. I'm hoping that for a lot of my resources, people will appreciate sort of the free advertisement. I hate leaning on that. I think that's dumb. That's like that, I'll pay you an exposure. Now make art for me. But the flip side is this exists regardless of if I offer an advertisement. So I'm going to offer the advertisement. I use fantasy name generators. I think this is a really good tool, and what I think is awesome about this tool is it has the tendency to use naming conventions and systems without relying on just compiling real names. So it makes it feel more fantasy, it makes it feel more like Game of Thrones, where all of the names are a couple letters off, where it's like rather than Brienne, it's Brienne, and instead of Jeffrey, it's Joffrey, things like that. Like, I feel like this does a really good job of following that same sort of cadence. So what I'm gonna do, what I think sounds fun, is I'm gonna go with just Chinese names. It's just gonna be like a sumo wrestling type of person. We're gonna go with neutral names. I think that's fun. Hi, sweetie. Do you want to come up? Is that why you're waiting? Nope. You're just there being a goofball. Okay. Sometimes my cat sits and waits patiently for me to notice her to let her come up on my lap, and other times she just stares at me and then runs away when I acknowledge her. Looking at these names, so I'm just gonna find one that seems interesting. Ooh, I like Cheng Wu. Okay, so we're gonna say Cheng Wu is the individual. So let's pull up our notepad again here. We're gonna do Cheng Wu. Is Cheng Wu a he or she? I'm gonna go with he, but it doesn't really matter. We're just it's gonna be one of those things where I'm just gonna say he, but when it comes up, I'm just gonna say it's Cheng Wu. And I'm never really gonna focus on he or she, because Cheng Wu is Cheng Wu, and Cheng Wu will mess you up if you mess with any. So the thing about all of the characters that I'm sort of producing for this is I want them to all be they're very tight knit with each other. They only have each other in this world at this point in time, and they understand that, they're used to that, so they go through a lot of trouble to look after each other. And so they all feel very protective towards one another. So Chengwu is going to feel very loyal to, not loyal to Poly, but like responsible for Poly. So I'm gonna say, let's see, and we're just gonna say was a bodyguard for Ignatius prior to unhinging, was a loyal servant of Ignatius. But as Ignatius became corrupt, Cheng Wu could not abide by the depravity he saw from his master. Cheng Wu is now dedicated to protecting the other servants from Ignatius and is currently barricaded deep in one of the ruined ships with Polly to protect her until they can escape. There we go. Yeah, so there we go. So we've got that in place. And honestly, I'm already, after getting involved, after writing this, I'm already getting rather attached to these individuals. And so this is something that, rather than being like, well, it's an option, I'm probably going to, like, most definitely bring this up. And have it be something that the players can experience and have fun with. I think it's a good idea here. So yeah, okay. So we've got some foundational things that we can put in here. Now the last part, and this is the well, I guess not the last part. We also have potential outcomes here. We'll get to that. The biggest part now is the actual map details. Now, I have not started on the map, and I have a process for the map. But I feel like the process of creating the map and then filling it is a rather in-depth one, and I would rather save that for when we do the next writing stream, which will be next Monday, the 8th. Yes. I can count the days. Friday the 5th, Saturday the 6th, Sunday the 7th, Monday the 8th. Yeah, so I think we'll dive into that and actually do it on that date. So what we'll do, we've got about 10 minutes left in tonight's stream. So I'm going to serenade you with the lovely tones of my throat swallowing. Some free ASMR for you. Enjoy that little tidbit. If this video gets enough likes, I'll start a secondary ASMR channel where I'll basically just eat very loudly into a microphone for all you freaks out there that like that kind of crap. Oh god, I just creeped myself out. So yeah, so we'll go into the thick of that. We'll dive into that. I gotta find a better positioning for this mic. I know this whole time I've been looking like way off to the side, right? Because I keep looking at where I am on the screen, not where my camera is. And I keep watching that. I think that's something that I'm just gonna have to, like, I'll get used to it. I'll get used to looking at the camera. I wonder if I could just like put like a small little mirror up there, so that way I'm like more tempted to look at that and I can kind of see what the camera sees, you know. But I also feel like I need to position it, especially if I'm going to be leaning in. I feel like I need to like angle it in a bit more. But yeah, see, I'm just messing with the camera. We'll figure it out. I think I can probably adjust the focus of the camera. I don't know. I'll toy with that. That's something that I don't need to do in the middle of the stream. At any rate, we'll design the dungeon later. I've got some systems that help. I utilize a lot of tools to make some of the work easier, but I have systems in place for injecting my own imagination into what those tools can sort of procedurally generate for me. So I'll go through that, and I think it's a really good system, and I think it's a cool one that creates some really fun dungeons to explore, some fungeons to explore, if you will. It sounds dirty. I don't know that I'm going to keep using the term fungeons. It sounds too much like funyuns, which I know are some people's favorite, but I just never got into them. I'm sorry. Um, But what I am going to do is I'm just going to give a quick rundown. We've got 8 minutes left. I'll give a quick rundown of everything that I sort of think about when I'm going into building a dungeon. And my cat is losing her damn mind right now. Freak. I'm amazed she doesn't run into furniture. She's only got one eye. She can't see how far away things are. I don't know how she manages it. She doesn't get on countertops. She's like the best cat in the world. She can't see how high they are. Oh my god, my cat is absurd. it's like something out of it's like something out of a cartoon. um so yeah, let me just run down really quickly sort of the components I put in my dungeons. I, I I I used to adhere a bit more tightly to the concept. Anyone who's written and created dungeons is probably familiar with the concept of the 5-room dungeon. And I used that a lot early on as a way to sort of learn what the intricacies and functions of design, like just the basics of writing a good dungeon without biting off more than I could chew, um, while still providing a compelling dungeon. Um, but I have expanded that because I did find that 5 rooms was often limiting, and at 5 rooms, if you always adhered to that, started feeling very formulaic. So I've expanded that, and pretty much all of my dungeons will have 10 functional rooms, although I usually leave the actual number of rooms up to chance, and I should say 10 functional areas, um, because a lot of times I'll utilize hallways for some of those areas as well. But so some of the things that I include. Oh, yeah, no, she's. There she goes. Man, I should set up a camera so you can like see her zipping back and forth out there. She's a psycho. Um, so we have our first section here, which is our dungeon-wide notes here, and so you can see. So this is where I put just some basic notes that I try to always have ready to go, so that way if I need to improvise anything in a dungeon, I have it ready to go. And also, so that way when I'm designing the rest of these parts, the rest of the parts of this dungeon, I stay consistent. So I have my skill checks, which are based on the level. I scale my skill checks based on level. I rarely ever there are very few reasons that I would ever provide and ask for a skill check that players could not reasonably beat at their level. I do set up and have easy, medium, and difficult, but it's largely based on their level, and it's just scaled. There's not really a rhyme or reason. There's not a way to know. It's just something that comes from experience for me and understanding, generally speaking, what types of skill checks are going to be easy, standard, and difficult for a level 1 character, so on and so forth for any given level. And so I just have that there, so that way I always have in mind I want to try and keep it there. If it's something that I really want to be difficult, what I'll do, like if it's something that's just going to be really hard, that it's like I'm willing to give them the information they're looking for if they do exceptionally well, that's where difficult comes in. If it's something that I don't want to give them, I don't even allow the possibility. Like I don't say like, all right, well we'll just make it something crazy high like a 25, so they have to roll a natural 20 to get it, because then they get it. It's like, well, frick, now they've just broken the dungeon. I don't like putting myself in that situation. If it's not something that it's time for their characters to know, then I will just tell them there's nothing you can glean from that, and I just won't open it. And sometimes that's frustrating for players. If a player appears like they're getting particularly frustrated with that, I'll explain to them, I don't want you to take away your own fun and discover answers to things before it's appropriate. I'll always just explain to them, There are some things that your character is limited to, and usually what I'll say is I'll also say write a note about it and come back when your character has improved, because it's not that it's impossible period and that I'm stonewalling you. Like, I'm not trying to invisible wall you per se, but your character is level 1. They're not going to understand these things, right? So I'll utilize that a lot. So that's why I always have skill checks, and it's always based on the level. Enemies. When it comes to the enemy set that's in there, I don't like to overwhelm myself with too diverse of an enemy and too many crazy things going on. So we basically just have 4 levels of enemy. And within my challenge levels and enemies here, I've gone through and using my own system that I like to do, right? And we kind of talked about this when we were doing the random encounters, right? I have, it preset out what the challenge rating of different levels of enemies are. And any dungeon will only have 4 types of enemies that they encounter. Some people might find that limiting based on what they do, but for me, I find that keeps me focused, and it helps me make sure that a dungeon stays within its theme, right? And that matches what we have up here, right? It's going to be the same thing as up here, but again, as we did with like copying and pasting stuff there's nothing wrong with having the same stuff always, in multiple places in here, because these notes are all about convenience and being accessible for me as the DM, so that way the game does not have pauses, burps, and hiccups, right? Now I create a D10 list of long rest risks. D10 are actually, these days so for a dungeon it's D10, because it's less likely that they will spend excessive numbers of nights in a dungeon, right? So I do a D10. There's the chance that there'll be enemies regenerating in a dungeon. That's where it gets a little game mechanic-y, but there's nothing wrong with letting there be game mechanics. We're playing a game after all, right? So we add some game mechanics. We add some, there's a chance of wandering monsters coming across wherever they're camped out, right? And a lot of times you'll see as we go down, I provide the opportunities also for them to sort of have special locations that help them barricade against that. So there might be an encounter, but they have advantages for it, right? I also preset them just so it's easy. It's not like, oh, random encounter, oh crap, now I have to quickly design. No, it's like, it's right in there. It's right in there. It doesn't even matter if it's repetitive, right? It's just the fact that there's something there. It adds that intrigue. Does it, happen at a time that's going to give one or more players a point of exhaustion because they can't get a long rest out of it, right? How is that going to impact things? That's really what it's about. Hi, you. Do you want to come up? Nah, you don't know if you want to come up, do you? Do you want to come up? You can come on up. Psst, psst, psst. Come on up, little girl. Come on. There she is. She always has to think about it a little bit. So we do that. There's the chance that it's an uneventful night. And then I also include a 10% chance of what I call divine intervention. So for my players, I like to have them always pick out a deity that they worship. And the divine intervention is basically them, no, that's not for you. That's not for you. No, we're gonna move that. You don't need to chew on that. I'm sorry, but you don't need to chew on a twist tie. Cats, man. There's always the chance that they're going to have divine intervention, and that doesn't mean that suddenly, like, there's a 1 in 10 chance that a god is going to come down and solve the dungeon for them. It's more like there's a 1 in 10 chance that one of the players is going to have a dream, right? And that dream, with their deity, where they're interacting with their deity, doesn't even necessarily have to relate to the dungeon that they're in presently. There's just the chance that they're going to interact, and that's how I inject a lot of player-driven story into my games, is I just sort of give them the chance to interact and discuss with a higher power that gives them purpose, or a lower power if they like to worship, Bel and the 9 hells down there. It's like, whatever, it's your character. You can do whatever you want. So we include all of those things, and I know I'm at the end of my stream, but it's my stream. I can do what I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish explaining this, because I already opened this Pandora's box, and it's not going to take very long. So like I say, I put 10 functional areas in any dungeon, following the 5-room dungeon principles. I do like to have some sort of quote-unquote guarded entrance. You can see here, guarded doesn't mean there are people standing guard. Guarded means that you can't just walk in. I try to make any dungeon have some sort of description about how you enter it in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's just that there's a big, heavy door. Maybe the door is trapped. Maybe there are guards there. I don't know. But I like to sort of, oh, wow, look at that. I got a follower. Neat. Well, thank you, Phalir. Wow, this is exciting. Second second stream, I already have a follower. Neato. Can you share some homebrew? Yeah, if you wanted to share some homebrew. Are you looking for like any sort of tips or anything, or are you just wanting to like brainstorm and collab? You know, I love sharing ideas of homebrew and stuff with people. I think that's great. I love it. Sweet. Okay, we got a Google Doc here. Ah, this is fun. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. um, yeah, do you want me to, what do you want? I'll stay on stream a little bit longer. Do you want me to pull it up and we can talk about some stuff, or do you want me to just keep going with my spiel? I don't know, you're like my one viewer here, so you can, have the floor here. I'm going to pull it up. All right, let's do it. Let's see what we got here. What do we got here? Storm Sailor Conclave. Ranger Conclave. Ooh. Storm Sailor, you specialize in using magic to aid in overseas travel by controlling storms. Can ensure the safety of your crew or even bring havoc upon other ships. Ocean is a weapon as much as your blade. Ooh, okay. I see what you're working on here. Ooh, this is cool. Oh my gosh, I've got some players that would eat this up. This is awesome. This is so awesome. This is like 100% the pirate stuff that a bunch of my players are like super into. When you choose the Conclave at 3rd level, you gain proficiency in sea vehicles and navigators. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful stuff. This is beautiful stuff, Phalir. Ah. Okay, it's just this one page. This is really cool, though. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so distracted. I could sit here and just like read the whole thing silently. Mind reading it aloud? Yeah, I can read it aloud. Alright, so let's see here. So Storm Sailor Magic. Starting at 3rd level, you learn an additional spell. You learn an additional spell where you reach certain levels in this class, as shown in the Storm Sailor spell table. The spell counts as a ranger spell for you, but doesn't count against the number of ranger spells you know. Okay. Alright. Let's see here. Oh, who we got? We got another. Wow, I've got 2 people watching. This is only the 3rd stream I've ever done, and I've got 2 people watching me. That's faster than I ever thought it would happen. How's it going? Mew Mew V. Oh, that's a fun name. All right. Yeah. So okay. So I'm gonna keep reading this. I'm gonna try to stay focused and keep reading this. So we've got Storm Sailor spells: Fog Cloud, Misty Step, Create, Food and Water, Storm Sphere, and Maelstrom. When you choose this conclave at 3rd level, you gain proficiency in sea vehicles, navigator's tools. You have advantage in intelligence, history checks pertaining to historical sailors, ancient sailing techniques, and sea monsters. Additionally, you can speak, read, and write Aquan. Wrath of the Seas. At 3rd level, as a bonus action, you can choose a creature that you can see within 120 feet of you that is within at least 10 feet of an external source of water or similar substance, such as a puddle or bleeding body. That creature must make a strength save throw against your spell DC. On a failed save, they take 1d4 bludgeoning plus 1d4 lightning damage. Okay. Alright, and are restrained until the end of your next turn. When you successfully hit a creature that is restrained this way using a weapon attack, they take additional lightning damage equal to your ranger level. Okay. It's when you successfully hit a creature, so it's not when other people hit. Okay. Alright. Ocean's Grace. So oh, okay, you guys were both on another stream there. So, okay. Yeah, this is cool homebrew. See, my homebrew is almost all world building. So, like, all of people who can come up with these sort of like these sort of like different classes and character builds and stuff like that. Like that stuff is always beyond me. I struggle really hard at balancing that type of stuff to like create things for players to use. Um, so yeah, Mew, go ahead and share one. We'll take a look at what you got after we kind of go over this. Oh, I love this. This is exciting. I'm having fun with this. Ocean's Grace. Okay, at 7th level, while completely submerged in water, you gain a swimming speed equal to your walking speed and are considered to be under the effects of the freedom of movement spell. Okay, all right, that's cool. I like that. I like that a lot. Aquan Blessing. At 11th level, you can breathe underwater, and any successful weapon attacks you make while you are at least partially submerged in water deal an additional 1d8 lightning damage on a hit. Okay. All right. See, now my first thought is, like, so I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about all of the lightning damage that can go in there. I can almost see there being, like, a fun way to use that, so you can almost like I'm thinking you could add even a little bit of extra power or some extra oomph to some of these attacks, but almost have like a wild magic type of system where it's like it's possible that that lightning damage could spread to nearby enemies and allies that are in the same body of water or something like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm really bad at balancing. I would have no way to balance that, but that was my first thought. Is like if we're doing extra lightning damage in a body of water, is this something? Is that meant to be something that this sort of this particular ranger class can like direct that, or is it something that would like potentially sort of go out of control and damage more people? So like you could do more damage, but you'd have to be careful about who else is nearby or something. I don't know, but it's cool. It's cool either way. All right, let's see here. Born of the Storm. Starting at 15th level, you have a permanent aura of thin, stormy fog around you. This aura takes up your space and any spaces within 5 feet of you and follows your movement. The aura is considered to be lightly obscured, although you can see through it as if it were completely clear. Any hostile creatures that enter it for the first time in a turn or ends their turn within it immediately take 2d4 lightning damage. Additionally, it grants advantage on saving throws against weather effects to you and friendly creatures within it, and allows you to use your Wrath of the Seas feature without requiring the target to be nearby liquid. Okay, that last bit right there, weather effects, that one would be super cool for any players in any of my games to be able to use, because I utilize weather during travel all of the time. I love using weather to add sort of small little buffs or hindrances to people. And so I think it would be really cool to give that type of option, give more ways for players to have, options to combat exactly that, just because that fits hand in hand with the way that I write and lead games. So that's this is cool. I like this. Thank you for sharing that, Phalar. This is really cool. Like I say, I love this stuff. I love doing world building stuff, but I struggle when it comes to establishing rule sets for classes and characters and races and stuff like that. I'm much more of a lore oriented person than a rules person. So yeah, that's cool. Sorry, Mio, I was super engrossed in that. Yes, I got your Google Doc here. Let me pull that up. Let's see here. So let me see what you got. Sorry, I am learning how to stream. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm really bad at balancing looking at chat and doing stuff at the same time. But yeah, let me pull this up. What do we got here? It's supposed to be tied to the backstory of a character coming up with. Cool. Okay, Luna's Collar. Cursed item. Very rare. Requires attunement by a sorcerer. Okay, Chained Power. When this item is worn by a sorcerer, it is automatically attuned to and cannot be removed, even with something as powerful as Wish. Ooh, okay. Aura of Protection. When worn, the AC of its bearer is equal to their spell save DC, but due to the increased protection and shielding against outside forces, the bearer is harder to heal and takes half healing from all sources. Okay. You can spend 2 sorcery points to cast any non-damaging cantrip from the sorcerer's spell list that you do not know. Okay, so this is That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. I think about that. So, item is worn by a sorcerer. It is automatically attuned to and cannot be removed, even with something as powerful as a wish. Okay. See now, so what I'm thinking, my first thought with that is this could make for a really, really awesome setup for a character-driven story arc. So it's like even Wish can't get rid of this, right? Um, so they would need to go on some sort of like I feel like it would be really cool if this could either be paired with like another specific item, or if it were like if you're talking about you haven't added up you haven't added any sort of flavor text, but like my initial thought is it'd be really cool if this item was originally like or like it's tied to the lore of some sort of deity, so that there is a way to get rid of this, but the only way to do it is to go through with the deity. What do you got here? Yeah, the whole arc. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So we're on the same page here. Yeah. Yeah, we're on the same page here. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. I love that kind of stuff. Um, I think that's really cool, and I think it would be really cool. Let's see here. AC of its bear is equal to the spell save due to the increased protection. Harder to heal. Yeah. So because the AC is tied to a character's spell save, I think this is something that you could really, without too much fear, I think you could give this. Like I'm just thinking about it from a DM standpoint. So it sounds like you've got like, sorry, I'm bumping my mic here. I'm so into it. My hands are everywhere. Um, like it sounds like you've got a specific character in mind for it. But when I see this and I'm thinking from a DM standpoint, like if I had this in my DM toolbox that I could toss at someone, I think it would be I think it would be like really cool. I would throw this. Ooh, Patrick Irvine is making some edits here. Cool. Let's see what we got. But yeah, like my cannot wear any form of armor. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense if we're gonna be tying AC. It's almost like a sorcerer's armor. Oh, it's you. Okay, I suppose that's good, Mew, that it's you. Um, I suppose that's good that it's you editing your own document. I'd feel bad if I was if someone else was coming out here and messing with your stuff. Um, but yeah, no. So like my thought is, if I had this in a DM toolbox, I think what's cool, what you've kind of tapped into, is by tying the AC to essentially the level of the character. I could feel confident in giving this item, sort of tossing it to a group of players that are still very early on in their campaign, even as early as like level 2 or something like that. You could give it to them and it ties to them because it's not going to be overly powerful, right? Because it ties that AC to their spell save, right? So it's like it's not like it's necessarily going to cripple them, nor is it going to make it really. Yeah, okay, so yeah, it's an item that you get from the start. Yeah, so yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think that's really cool. Yeah, like I say, I'm just kind of thinking about it because I DM. I haven't played a character in so long. I haven't had the chance to actually play. I've been a DM for like a decade. I have like been a player for a grand total of maybe like 10 hours of D&D time in the past decade of being a DM practically. It's cuz everyone here's like, "Oh, you DM. We got to have you come DM for us." So like I get pigeonholed into that. Um but no, this is cool. This is cool. I dig it. Okay, let's see here. Phalanx. Oh, you got another one. You got another one. Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun with this. I love this. Okay, what do we got here? Another Ranger Conclave. Okay. Noble hunters are rangers that work under royalty and nobility, guiding them and their armies through treacherous pathways. Their formal training in combat and magic grants them unique insight most rangers would overlook, makes them especially deadly. To them, the battlefield is their natural habitat, and they're the apex predator. Okay, I like that. I already like that. I like because so many of the hunter things that you see and the way people use hunters really are about like one with nature, like hunting animals. Like, what about the concept of, the most dangerous game, hunting other people, like being a warrior type of hunter? I think that's really cool. I like that. I'm already into it. Noble Hunter Magic. Starting at 3rd level, choose one of the following spell lists: Cleric, Druid, or Wizard. You learn one additional spell of your choice from that spell list, which must be of a level for which you have slots. You learn further spells at 5th, 9th, 13th, and 17th level. They count as ranger spells for you, but do not count against the number of spells you know. Okay, yep. This spell list represents the type of kingdom you hail from. Ooh, okay. Tying the skills into into their like backstory and stuff. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, welcome back, Mew. Yeah, we're going over. We've got another sort of subclass, or yeah, like Ranger Conclave we're going through here. But yeah, no, I like that idea already. Spell list represents type of kingdom you hail from. I love when we tie characters' abilities into their backstory. I think that stuff is so cool. Let's see, where was I? A noble hunter that uses the cleric spell list might come from a theocracy. A noble hunter that uses the druid spell list might come from a more naturalistic kingdom. A noble hunter that uses the wizard spell list might come from an incredibly arcane kingdom. Yep, that's fitting. I like that. Okay, battle insight. When you choose this conclave at 3rd level, you have a unique way of finding and exploiting weaknesses that makes you incredibly deadly. As a bonus action, you can choose a creature that you can see within 60 feet of you and attempt a wisdom insight check contested against that creature's charisma. If you succeeded the check, you learn any damage types that the creature is vulnerable or resistant to. Okay, yeah, no, that's cool. That's powerful. That's good. Anytime you successfully hit with a weapon attack against them before the end of your next turn, they take an additional 1d4 damage of the weapon's type. The damage die rolled for this additional damage increases at later levels. It increases to a d6 at 7th, d8 at 11th, and d10 at 15th. Once you analyze a creature using this feature, you cannot use this feature on that creature again until you finish a short or long rest. That's good. I like that. I think that's really cool. I think that fills a kind of a gap that I notice a lot, where I feel like a lot of times it's hard for players to like actually sort of in a literal sense learn about enemies without just flat out trying things and seeing what doesn't work. So I think that's a cool idea to add that. Let's see here. Oh, I see where you're going. I see where you're coming from. You. No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. I dig it. I dig it. I definitely dig it. I think it's cool that you're incorporating some actual like items into like your character's backstory. I think that's cool stuff. I like when people do that. I don't know. I love when people take stuff in D&D. Like, this is why I love D&D so much. I love when people take it and really make it their own in general. Utilize the rules as a way to build a character. I think that's really cool stuff. So, no, I dig it. I'm feeling it. Okay, formal training. Let's see here. At 3rd level, you gain proficiency in a set of artisan's tools of your choice and a skill of your choice. Additionally, you choose one skill that you're proficient in. You gain expertise in that skill, allowing you to add twice your proficiency bonus to the check. Okay, yeah, no, I'm on board with that. I don't think that's too overly powerful. I think that fits. I could see some people. I mean, I think a lot of times DMs have the tendency to balk at players having too much power, but I don't really have a problem with that because I create a homebrew world, so literally the world is my toy to make as difficult as I want it to be, so who am I to tell people whether they're too powerful? So if we're talking about like twice proficiency bonus even at 3rd level, I'm on board with it. Let's see here. That's good, Mew. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I think kind of like what we're talking about now. I think that most DMs, as long as you work with them to make sure that it's not a broken item or a broken system, I think, or at least any good DM is going to be on board with helping you to really create items and create characters and backstories that are really your own, that you can really feel passionate about. I mean, that's what drives the game. So I think that's really cool. I think that's a good headspace to be in when you're kind of creating these things. Rock on, I feel it. Let's hear further training. When you reach 7th level, You gain the following benefits due to you improving your training. Additional fighting style. You can choose a second option from fighting style class feature. I dig it. Spell strike. Immediately after you successfully hit a creature with a weapon attack, as a bonus action, you can cast a spell of first level or higher. The spell must have a casting time of 1 action and affect a singular creature or an area. If it affects an area, the spell's area is centered on the target. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, regaining any expended uses after you finish a long rest. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I dig that. I think that's good. I think that really adds a lot of like functional utility to this too. Because early on, like I say, a lot of it comes from the fact that I just spent all my time DMing. So like a lot of this stuff I really dig because the earlier stuff is a lot more about, like, it really feels like it's very like sort of story driven type stuff. So I'm totally on board with a lot of this stuff, adding some extra powers and stuff. I mean, when you think about like a rogue, the amount of like extra stuff they can get, or a monk, how much extra stuff they can get, I feel like it's only fair that rangers can get things like the spell strike and stuff. So I'm on board with that for sure. Magical insight. By 11th level, you have learned to apply your methodology of exploring and exploiting weaknesses to your magic. Whenever a creature under the effects of your battle insight feature takes damage from a spell that you have cast, they take an additional 1d8 damage of the spell's type. Yeah, sure. Yep. Give it some more oomph, some more power. I dig it. I got to keep up with my chat here. It's just too much. I can't handle it. Oh yeah, I see where you're coming from. That's a cool thought. And I really like that. Like, it just generally speaking too, I like that you're finding a way to make your character like represent yourself as someone who's like clearly like a visual type of person, right? Because you're thinking about appearance and stuff like that, even in a game that's all just theater of the mind like D&D is. So that's just immediately for me when I'm thinking about DMing and trying to get players involved. I think it's really cool that you're finding a way to incorporate your own personality into what you're creating for the sake of the game, right? Because like, and that's the type of stuff I love when players do that, because I think it's a really good way to draw a player in and get them really, get them really invested in the game that they're doing. When you have the chance to sort of incorporate what's meaningful to you as an individual into, who your character is and how they portray themselves. So even though people don't, we're playing D&D, it's not like we're sitting here, spending 5 hours on the Cyberpunk, character creation screen or anything like that. I think it's cool that you're finding a way to still incorporate and think about the visuals of what your character would look like. I dig it. I really dig it. Let's see. We got one more thing here. True Battle Insight. At 15th level, creatures affected by your Battle Insight feature cannot be hidden from you, have disadvantage on saving throws against your spells, and you have advantage on attack rolls against them. Yeah. No, I think that's right in line. I think that really matches what you're working on here, Phaelire. I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool that you're coming up with different like classes and subclasses and stuff. Like I say, that's not something that's really in my skill set. I struggle. That's one of the things I always worry, that I'm a really bad DM, because I am so not a rules lawyer. I'm so bad at keeping track of skills and powers and like character builds and stuff like that. I'm so bad at that kind of stuff. So I think it's really cool that you're really into making these types of classes and stuff. I think they're really cool, and I love when other, especially like if a player were to come to me with this kind of stuff, I am all for it. I love when players really take charge of their characters, because one, like I say, that gets them really invested in the story, and two, it takes a lot of work off my shoulders, and I can really focus on the world I'm making. That's one less thing for me to have to do. So let's see, what do we got, Mew? Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, I see where you're coming from. You. No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So that makes perfect sense. That it's that this that like the collar and everything what you're describing with this character is really fitting you, because it's a visualization of yourself in a lot of ways. I think that's awesome. I think that's really awesome, and I think that's one of the beauties of D&D, and it's why I love the hobby and the game so much, is because I really think, like, it's not even just that D&D lets you do this stuff. Like, it's the point of D&D is to really put yourself into it, and I think it is really cool. Someone like me, I spend a lot of time in my own head, a lot of time exploring my own imagination, and I think that's one of the great things about D&D too. Is it really gives people, like imaginative people, a landscape, a place uh, to just sort of explore whatever's going on in their brains and stuff like that. I love this hobby. I love the freedom that it offers to people. And the nature of it is there's so many different things that you can take from it. There's no right or wrong way to get into the hobby. I think that's just what's really awesome about it. I think it's a cool cool hobby. I really am on board with it, and I'm loving this right now. Just talking shop about stuff with people. Um, all right, yeah, no, I feel you, Mew. Uh, I like that. I like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I it's one of the things I'm really into about D&D, even over top of a lot of other tabletops. I love tabletops in general. I have so many different rule books, ones that I've never even played before. I love looking at rule sets, and I love looking at different lores and stuff. Um, but like kind of what you're talking about here, Mew, is one thing that I love about D&D is it's like the lore is so expansive, and there's like what's demonstrated by the lore itself, I feel anyway, um, with what they've produced, with the fact that they're constantly coming out with new races. I mean, they just recently released the Leonins and the Sadirs as playable races and everything. Is it shows just how expansive the lore is, and it demonstrates that the whole intent of the game is to be able to create new things and fill it with new ideas and stuff like that. And so no, I like where your head's at, Mew. I like that you're doing, kind of finding ways to just I mean really what you're doing is you're playing with the game. That's like the whole point of it. It's a game, and you're playing with it, and that's the whole point of it. So I dig that. I really dig it. This has been fun. I really appreciate both of you guys coming here and sharing some stuff with me. This is this is fun. This is better than I'd hoped for. I mean, I you can look at the history. I have 3 streams under my belt, including this one. I started on Wednesday, and already I'm having sweet, awesome discussions with people. So I'm having a blast with this. This is great. I am super into this. But yeah, so thank you guys for coming by and sharing this stuff. I'm looking at the clock. It's 9:30 where I'm at, and my voice is absolutely destroyed because I've been sitting here talking for 2.5 hours. You guys came in towards the end here. You missed my frustrated rants early on with my neighbors making way too much noise. To the point that you could hear them over my little isolated mic here. So you guys came in at the fun part when I finally got over that. But I thank you guys for coming in. I'm gonna log out for now. We're kind of winding down the stream here at this point in time for the night. I'm pretty sure I figured out how to put my schedule on Twitch. For when I stream, I'm gonna be uploading my videos. I've got a YouTube channel. I don't know if I remembered to link the YouTube channel on my Twitch account stuff. I don't know, man. I'm figuring all this out. Just like I just decided to start doing it, so I have no idea what I'm doing. But at any rate, I'm gonna be logging out here. But if you guys wanted to stop out, my next stream I'm going to do my next writing stream I'm going to do on ow kitty, don't do that. It's my arm, it is soft and it gets scratched. um, I will do another writing stream. My plan is to do a writing stream on Monday at 7 o'clock my local time. You should be able to see that on on my channel information. I'm also trying to do some video game streams. If you guys just wanted to come out and hang out for that kind of stuff, I'm thinking I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow night. We'll see. I haven't quite figured out if Saturday nights are gonna be part of it or not. So I may log on, but at any rate, I'm rambling now. But yeah, just keep checking it out. I appreciate you guys coming by. I appreciate you guys sharing stuff. I'm having fun with this. I dig it. I love sharing. I love talking shop, and I hope we do it again sometime. But thanks for stopping by. Keep doing the awesome stuff you guys are doing. Keep writing stuff. I love it. I think it's awesome. Yeah, be good people. Share positivity throughout the world, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by.